We're back with Troy Senek in California, Scott Hodge, Josh Barrow, and we're talking about the progressive states versus the common sense states. Who's failing, who's not, what can we learn from it? We've focused a lot on California. Next week I'm going to be out in California. We've got a lot coming up for you, including some of the problems and some of the things that you need to know, because I think this federal government is coming after California. I think they're going to bail them out. Our guests don't. I do. I'm not so optimistic. But also the things that we can learn from California, if you're doing them in your state, don't do them anymore. Let me come back here now, and Troy, let me start with you. If you could get America to listen to one idea, one policy, or look at one state and say, you've got to do this, so you don't fall into the California trap, what would it be?
I think Texas is the model. I think the nation, especially state governments around the nation, should be looking at Texas. I mean, when you look at how their government is composed and how fundamentally different it is from a state like California. I mean, they have a part-time legislature that meets once every 2 years because it's in their Constitution that otherwise it's a threat to the liberties of the citizens of Texas.
Which is what our founders wanted. Our founders wanted that in the federal government.
They have a Sunset Commission that's dedicated to terminating wasteful and duplicative government agencies. Texas should be the model if you want to build a state to succeed in the long term. California is the model for failure.
Okay, Scott.
I would enact a taxpayer bill of rights, which Colorado has used for over 20 years to control the growth of government and spending and taxes. And I think that Washington needs a spending control mechanism. Obviously, spending is out of control, and tax revenues are not really the problem. It's really spending. Until we get spending under control, all the tax increases in the world will not solve the problem.
Yeah, but they froze our spending.
You have to free all spending, not just a small...
Really? Not 17%? All of it?
No, it has to be all of it.
That's quite a concept. Josh?
I would get public sector employee pay under control. Payroll is a huge part of government costs, especially at the local government level. And during the recession, public employee wages and benefits have kept rising as though there weren't a recession at all. Since 2007, public employee pay is up 3% more than private sector pay.
But that's got to be, I mean, let's look at this. Yeah. I'm trying to remember these numbers off the top of my head, but it's about 40-some thousand is the average pay for the average American. But if you work for the government, the average pay is $70,000.
Right.
I mean, and you're saying their increases, even that big spread, their increases are still 3% more.
They are, and also that's just looking at wages, but government employees do even better on a relative basis on non-wage benefits. They have much more generous health care plans, and that's all very expensive for taxpayers. So partly that just involves fiscal discipline by state legislators, and then also in a lot of states you have binding arbitration laws that strip legislators of the power even to control public employee pay if they wanted to. We've seen that here in New York and in other places. You have arbitrators who aren't accountable to anybody handing out big raises to public employees that nobody has any power to undo. So that's something that if you get that under control, you can start getting the cost of government.
But you know, I just saw this week that we have the federal government now employs more people than ever before. I mean, we're talking about the states, but the federal government is going down exactly the same path as California. We're going down the same rabbit hole. And all I can think of is what Alice, she looked at the little mint, it said, eat me. And I mean, just eat me. I mean, jeez, for the love of Pete. Okay, gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Glenn.
Next week, like I said, we are going to be out in California, and we have several things. We have Ben Sherwood, I'm trying to convince to be with me. He's a guy who wrote the book, The Survivors Club, which is Think the Unthinkable. We were just talking in the commercial break. I can't take it anymore. I can't take it. If one more person says, oh, gee, you know, we're the United States, we'll never fail. What? What, do we have some magic pixie dust that shoots out of our butt from time to time? We don't bend the laws of economics or physics. We're Americans. We can fix things, but we have to be honest about it. So we're going to talk about the Survivors Club, and also we may talk to some of the radicals out in California. Oh, yeah. Some of the progressive radicals and some of the Tea Party radicals. Hear from both sides. See if you can figure out which is the right direction to go for California. That's all next week, live from California, and then in Pasadena on the 13th with Bill O'Reilly. That's next Saturday. Look for tickets at glennbeck.com. Back in just a